Hi, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. Today, we're going to talk about how to build continuous integration and continuous delivery pipelines in Creatio. We're going to cover CICD pipelines overview. We'll have a look at advantages of continuous integration, advantages of continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. We have a look on Creatio current available CICD tools, and then we'll jump to a live demo. And at the very end of this session, we will have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions during this presentation, just leave them in a chat, and I'll do my best to answer those at the end of my session. My name is Mike Uden. I'm head of engineering in Creatio. I've been working with Creatio for over 6 years. I work in a wide variety of verticals, such as financial services, telecom, pharma, professional services, and a couple of other ones. Hopefully, I'll bring some domain expertise, and I will share some insights on how to build continuous integration and continuous delivery pipelines for Creatio, and I'm really looking forward to spend this time with you guys. All right, so let's have a look at the overview of general continuous integration and delivery pipelines. So everything starts with the code. So let's say we have a team of developers. If it could be a developer, a citizen developer, or even a business analyst working on Creatio implementation, on Creatio application. And everything starts with new changes in repository. So first we code, then developers push these changes to a remote repository. It could be a Git repository, it could be a Subversion, or any kind of your preference. And then we have so-called CI part, which is continuous integration part. And in CI part, we have a few steps. The first is build. So we actually need to build our source code and to build our backend source code and get essentially get a DLLs. Second will be tests. So we can run various kinds of tests. So at least unit tests. And the next stage would be a code quality. So in code quality, we would want to collect some metrics for static code analysis. And the latest stage of the continuous integration is the packaging. Okay, so at the end of continuous integration pipeline, we want to have a JZ Creatio packages, which will contain all the SQL script, data bindings, our business processes configured with our business process engine, UI sections, pages configured with the our section wizard and interface designers. Also data bindings and JavaScript and C# source codes. Okay, and the key idea of continuous integration is that we want to integrate every change continuously as early as possible to get a fast feedback. So, and for continuous delivery, we want to build package every time and install on a particular environment. So in continuous delivery, we might have want to install packages on testing environment, on staging environment, and on production, apparently on a production environment. But there are differences between continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So for continuous delivery, we have so-called a manual intervention or manual acceptance stage. So it could be one person or usually a team who will make a decision of whether a current release or current delivery should be promoted to production or not. And systematic delivery of increment allows to effectively consider customer voice, validate product ideas and features, and this whole process is essential for stable development. And let's have a look on advantages of continuous integration. So as soon as we have continuous integration, we are able to detect errors and fix bugs as soon as possible. So if there are any integration problems, in case if you integrate changes often, they are usually small rather than integrating changes later. And every time developer pushes new changes to a remote repository, the tests will run, and hopefully we will have a feedback whether a build status is successful or maybe a build has failed. So it helps to answer questions like, what is the build status, which change broke the build, and who should fix it, right? And also, like, we integrate early. We integrate multiple times a day instead of integrating, let's say, like once a week. And we can detect problems early with, let's say, missing data bindings, or you can find that your configuration won't compile because of missing references, or your changes work but not in a way that you have expected. And let's have a look at advantages of continuous delivery and advantages of continuous deployment. So so it helps to deliver more value and to get feedback from customer faster and make another iteration. So it makes and also you can make sure that everything you do is actually releasable, or at least make sure that features that you are not intend to promote to production are not accessible, for instance, by utilizing feature toggles. And if you are doing small changes and they go to production often, it in general lowers the risk in comparison to doing a very big releases, let's say once in a few months or so. So problems are much easier to detect and fix. Okay, and let's have a look at available continuous integration, continuous delivery tools for Creatio. So basically, we have now we have two possible options available. The first one is the Creatio command line interface, which is named Clio, and it is the tool and utility for integration Creatio platform with development and CI/CD tools. And this tool is available both. It can be used both for on-site and cloud deployments. And the other possible option is Workspace Console utility. It is designed to manage Creatio packages, and Workspace Console tool works directly with Creatio application database, so it's mostly used for on-site installations. Okay, and I think it's probably enough of a theory, and let's jump to a live demo. And before we go there, I just want you to remind you, if you will have any questions, just leave them in a chat window, and I'll do my best to give you answers in a Q&A session. Okay, great. Let's start a live demo with, and I want to, so now I'm in my GitLab repository, so I'll showcase you continuous integration, continuous pipelines built over GitLab, but I will put an emphasis mostly on Creatio specifics, so then you can build similar pipelines on any other integration, continuous integration, continuous delivery platform and tools. So first, I want to spend some time and show you my repository structure. So it might be familiar for you. So I have a Git repository, and for now, it consists of a few things. So the first, I have a package folder. So if you remember how you configure or develop Creatio platform on the file system, you have a package folder and you have a bunch of packages there. So for this particular example, in the purpose of this live demo, I have only one package, which is accelerate package. And if we go into this package, you'll see all familiar things for you, like a data, a file for static content, like all kind of schemas, resources, SQL scripts, and but what I want you to notice that I also utilize here our so-called project packages, right? So it is not only a package, but I have a file static content. So during our CI/CD pipeline, we're gonna need to build this source code and bundle it and include it into a resultant JZ archive. And yeah, and also, what about pipeline? So let me show you the continuous integration pipeline itself. So the code behind all the logic behind our continuous integration resides here in this YAML file. And I'll show you, and we'll walk through step by step of this just a bit later. Also, what I have here, I have some code qualities matrix set up. So I use a Sonar cube here. So as you can see, the last build, during the last build, the quality gate passed. The cut coverage is 80%. So, and yeah, it seems that we are good for now. And let me show you what we are gonna build, right? So the results of what we want to achieve during in the result of building continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline. So if I jump to a pipeline section, here on my screen, you'll see the live build and how the result of our build looks like. So we have few steps here. So it's similar to what I showed you on my presentations on the slides, but this is live in a real environment. So we have build stage, we have a test stage, we have a code quality, and we have multiple stages for deployment to deploy changes on different environments. And in this particular case, it's deploy to staging environment and deploy to production environment. So, and if I, let's say, navigate to build packages stage, we will find like a detailed information on what happened there, and we will get to this a little bit later. Okay, let me jump to the, so let me show you my Creatio package. Let me show you a project structure. So for now, it has a pretty straightforward logic. So this package contains only a single web service, which is accelerate event service created for purpose of this live demo. And I have two endpoints: execute post and execute get, and they return pretty straightforward result, just hello and the name of the person who, let's say, called this particular web service. And what else I have here? I have unit test, okay? So I have a unit test which runs some basic logic and executes some tests over this web service. And for now, as you can see, all tests are green, so we are good here. We are good here. Okay, and what else I want to mention, that this is since it is a project package, I have some nugget dependencies, and we will need to handle those during our continuous integration pipeline. So, for instance, I have Creatio SDK installed. I have some other nugget references here. So we'll need to restore this, restore these references and handle these references during the continuous integration pipeline. All right. So let's jump directly to our continuous integration pipeline. So I want to highlight that our logic in our pipeline resides in the repository itself. So it is version same as all our source code, okay? And the whole thing and whole logic of our continuous integration is defined in this GitLab CI YAML file. The first thing we have here is stages. So we have build stage, test stage, cut quality, and multiple stages for deployment. So now let's have a look on each and every stage, and I go step by step, and I'll explain you on how to perform actions, how to perform these actions. So the first thing we need to do, as we already discussed, is to build packages. So in order to build package, I run few commands. And the first command in a script, I need to build source code. So in order to build source code, I use PowerShell file for that. It resides here in my repository in src folder. So, and let's have a look at this build script. So it is pretty straightforward. So what it does, it actually iterates through the package directory. And in this case, my package directory, it is here, package directory. And for now, I have only one single accelerate package. So, and it collects all the packages inside directory. It searches for all solutions that we would want to build later. And why we have this for each loop? Because there might be multiple packages in repository, and then I have, so this script will build all of them. So the first thing, when we find our solution, in this case it's accelerate solution, we need to restore Nugget packages. Okay, so we use Nugget restore for that. And the second one is .NET build. So we use .NET CLI to build our source code, which our solution, and provide some, so that I want to build in release configuration. I do not need to restore it again because I already did it, right? Then I have some cleanup logic here, and that's about it. So as soon as I executed this PowerShell command, my solution was built, and the only thing I need to do is to create a JZ archive on this tab. So for this, I use the Clio compress command. So Clio compress command, if you are not familiar with Clio, you can jump into documentation. So in your terminal, in your PowerShell, you can simply type Clio compress and help, Clio compress help, and it will navigate you to the official documentation. It will direct you to official documentation of Clio, and you find, okay, so the Clio command is responsible to compress source code into JZ archive in a particular directory. So, and you can find a bunch of documentations here on the Clio wiki page. Okay, and in my case, I just want to compress everything from like some package names, and in my case, this package names is only accelerate package because I have only one, and then I just put the result and put the results to the build folder, which will be stored for me in artifacts. And I will reuse this JZ archive in a later stage when we would want to deploy these changes to an environments, to, let's say, a staging environment or production environment. And yeah, so, and let's have a look on results of this stage. So let's go step by step and see if it was successful, let's say, and what was the output of this stage. So I open my continuous integration pipeline, and this is the latest pipeline that I've executed. And as you can see, we have a few things here. The first one, we executed build PowerShell script. So it restored Nugget packages. And at the end, we'll see that, okay, the build succeeded. And we have, as a result, we have the accelerate files bin. So we have accelerate DLL, and we would need this to include in our packages, in our package. And the second step will be to Clio compress package. So Clio compress was successfully done, and let's see what we have as the result. So I have some job artifacts here. So if I click on browse, click on browse, I have a build folder, and in this build folder, I should have delivery zip, and delivery zip is it should contain the JZ archive. So, and JZ archive. So let me show you. Okay, we have a build folder, we have delivery zip, and inside there build a JZ archive. Here it is. So why it's in zip? Because there might be multiple packages, so I put them in a single archive, into single zip archive, and there are multiple JZ archive could be here. So this accelerate JZ file, it's a Creatio package which contains all the logic. Okay, so which contains all our package items, files, a data, a schema. So all the work that developers done while using low-code tools or advanced the source code which was developed. So all of that will be in the JavaScript archive. Okay, so we are finished with build. So we have a source code, we've got a package, and let's then proceed to run unit test steps. So run test step. And in this particular case, I have only a unit test setup, but you also can extend your testing framework and add some other kind of tests. So, okay, let's have a look on the script on how to run unit tests. So it's very similar to the previous step of the build step, but we have some differences here. So during the unit testing, I'm not only want to put some tests, but I also want to collect some coverage. So for that, I define the output of my, where should I store my coverage report, and then I do a few things. The first thing is I restore Nugget packages for the solution, and the second step will be to run .NET test command. So I use .NET CLI to test a particular solution, and then I want to collect the coverage. So I will use for that open cover, and I will, as an output, I will put the results of test coverage into the coverage report. Why I need my coverage report? Because later we'll use it to report it to a Sonar cube, to report the Sonar cube and have a look, like to have all information on the quality of our solution in the Sonar cube static code analysis server. And yeah, that's actually about it. So as soon as we ran the .NET test command, this should run all the tests and we should see the results. So let's have a look at the test stage. So we have run unit test. It was green, so it was successful. Let's have a look at the output of this command. Okay, so again, we have Nugget restored references, and the second, so the build was successful, and we have test run successful, as you can see. So there were 2 tests in total and 2 tests passed. Also, here I have some information on the code coverage, and as I mentioned, we'll use this later to report it to Sonar Cube. Okay, let's jump to a next step. A next step will be a Sonar Cube analysis. So in order to run Sonar Cube analysis or code quality on the code quality stage, I'll have to use few commands. So the first one is a Sonar Scanner command for .NET CLI, right? So I use .NET Sonar Scanner begin. So, and this will start the collection of some information. And the only thing I need to do to report and to calculate actually the code quality metrics is to build configuration. And we already have seen this script, right? So we went through this script, so I'll not gonna stop on it again. So we build the script and then we issue .NET, Sonar Scanner, and command. We provide some additional parameters here. In this case, it's Sonar token, it's authorization token. And at the very end, I only want to make sure that the build server has stopped. So my next pipelines will not hang here on the steps. And one other thing to notice that when we ran .NET Sonar begin command, I passed some parameters here. So I passed CI project name, the URL of our host URL, and like Sonar token. And also, if you look here, we have open cover reports, right? So there is a coverage report, and I say, please take this report from this file and load it to the Sonar server. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look on the results. Let's have a look on the results. And while it's loading, I'll open Sonar Cube. All right. So here is the latest build, and we have code quality. It says it passed. And if I open the log, you'll see that there were some logic. This is the output from our first Sonar scanner. So it had some processing, so we executed, we built the solution, and then there was some post-processing, so it reported some changes here, and it says, okay, it collected, it parsed the open cover report, and it added coverage report to the server. And we say, okay, execution was successful, and yeah, it was fine. So let's have a look at the Sonar Cube. So in Sonar Cube, I have my accelerate repository here, and as you can see, the new code is fine, and I can use the Sonar to get some information on whether I have new bugs, if you have new vulnerabilities, security hotspots, some code smells, etc. And for now, it seems I'm fine because I have the reasonable code coverage and have not much. I do not have any code duplications, so I'm my think that I'm good for now. So this was the Sonar Cube analysis. So let me recap. We went through build stage, test stage, and code quality stage. So, and this essentially all the steps that are that we need in order to have our continuous integration. So we have build, we have test, we have code quality, and result we have compressed JZ archive. It's a deployable unit ready to be installed on an environment. Okay, what else we have here? We have deploy stage. So this is about continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So this is something that the logic that you want to deliver your changes, install them on a particular environment, and then in this case, you will have a manual intervention, so changes will not go directly to production environment. So it's intended that some team will go and verify whether everything is fine, and we can promote these changes to production. Okay, so let's jump and have a look at how we can install and deploy changes to environment. So there are a few things here to notice. The first thing is that again, I use Clio command, but in this time I use Clio register web app command. So what this command does, it actually will verify, will take my credentials, take the URL of environment that I want to reach. It will verify this credential, it verify that this command, this environment is reachable, and it will save this environment for me, save the credentials. Essentially, it will register this application under a particular environment name. And next time, if I use any commands that needs to reach application server, like external website, I will not need to provide a URL. I will not need to provide a PowerShell script, and I will not to provide the login and passwords here. So I will only need to mention on which environment I want to execute a particular command. So let's jump to what we need actually to work on it, what we need to do in order to install packages. And the key thing here is that we need to use Clio install command. This command takes JZ archives, like our Creatio packages, and installed it to a particular environment. And in this case, I say I want to install this packages from build directory to this particular environment. And this environment, I define this variable here. And why? Because this is a template, okay? Because no matter in what environment I install packages, they are gonna be the same for me in this particular case. So the only change we will have between, let's say, staging environment and production environment is variables. So we'll have different. So like for staging, we'll have domain as a staging URL, and for login, password, and environment name, I'll pass staging login, staging password, and the environment name is a parent of staging. And for production, I will use the different variables for domain, login, and password, which is production URL, production login, and production password. So that's about it. But other than that, the deployment stage in this case is same for each and every deployment stage. Okay, so I run Clio install command, And then after that, I have a few others commands here. So let's have a look at what that is. So clear flash db command is responsible to clear Redis cache. Okay, so since I'm deploying new changes to environment, I might want to get rid of old cache, so then all users will work with the new value there. So for that, I use Clio flash db command. And again, if you are not familiar with Clio, just go to the Clio CLI, type Clio flash db or any kind of command on help, and you will be directed to the documentation, to wiki pages, and you'll find all the possible options for a particular command, some examples, and all information on this command. After we executed flash db command, the next one will be to execute Clio restart command. So why I need this? Because I want, in order to new changes go live, so in order to work on new packages, on new executables, I want to restart application. So the application domain will be unloaded and new DLLs will be loaded into app domain. So we'll so essentially this is the restart command. And we might also want to add Clio ping command, which will essentially try to ping environment and say like, hey, if particular environment is live, and whether I am able to reach the environment. And that's about it. So that's about it. So this was the deployed stage, and let's see the results of this stage. Let's see how this looks in the particular environment. Let's see how this looks. So, sorry, not in the environment, but rather in my latest pipeline. Let's see what was the latest build stages, and let's see what was the output of all commands. Okay, so I have deploy staging, and it passed. Okay, so if I open deploy staging, I'll see results on this particular job, and let's see what happened. So first, as we already went through, we executed Clio reg web app command, and it says it tried to log into a particular environment, and login was successful. So this tells us that, okay, we can continue, right? So we can continue, and the second step is to actually install and deliver packages, deploy packages to a particular environment. So for that, we are using Clio install command again, and what it says, like we have an output of this command. It says, okay, the accelerate package was loaded, there was some files, etc. There's some data or like some things went here. Then we have compiled the configuration, and we are done. So the step was successful. And if you have like different kind of change, let's say you have changed a business process, or you've changed like a contact section or some interfaces or data bindings, you will have more detailed output here on every particular change, and it will be every time gonna be saved in your jobs log. And if there are gonna be any errors, you will be able to spot these errors right away from this log file, so you can understand and reason what's happened and what has to be done to fix it. Okay, and we also had some others command here. The Clio flash db command, it was done, Clio restart done, and ping was successful. So yeah, that's about it. So basically, let me recap. So we went through build stage, we went through test stage, we ran some unit tests, we ran some code quality analysis, and we deployed to staging environment. And you might ask, like, what about production, right? Like, what about production? How do I deploy to production? Yeah, we can do this in a very similar manner, but as I mentioned, in the particular case, we'll not do an automatic deployment to production, because we might want to have the some manual acceptance here, where some manual intervention to verify if we want to go with production. And so for that, as you can see, we have a deploy production stage, but it's skipped, and I can, because it needs a manual intervention. So as soon as I click play, and let's consider that I have received feedback, and I'm responsible for like make deployments to production. And as soon as I receive feedback that, yeah, everything is fine, all tests are good, and we are ready to deploy to production, then we can push play button, and it will deliver these changes in a very same manner that we delivered changes to a staging environment. And if you say about continuous integration, so in a GitLab CI, in order to do that, actually the only thing I need to do is to say, like, I want to run this step manually. Okay, so I add this van manual step, and yeah, and that's about it. That's all I need to do. And as you can see, my environment, so my pipeline is running, and in this case, we are deploying changes to a different environment. So, and yeah, it's testing environment on my side, but this might be like any reachable environment. So we are deploying changes on another environment. And let's also, what I want you to show, like let's simulate like a real case scenario when a developer wants, make some task and assigned with the task, he makes some changes and he pushes these changes to environment. So let's say I'm gonna, I don't know, like make some changes to this event service. So then I will rebuild the configuration. I will rebuild the solution, and as soon as this solution is built, I might, proceed with some local testing and say, yeah, I'm good. I'm still getting hello, and no matter that my code has changed slightly, but I'm still good. I may proceed with some debugging. I may go with debugging, and as soon as I'm happy and as soon as I'm ready to deploy these changes, so I see like, okay, it was successful. I tested it. Everything fine. So I want to push these changes to a remote environment, right? So if I want to, so I push these changes to a remote environment. I navigate to my Git. I say, okay, here's my changes, and I say I want to update service. I'll commit these changes locally, and then I'll push these changes to a remote repository. And let's see what happens. And what I want you to showcase that there might be different developers, some of them working on using low-code tools, some of them working with, let's say, in IDEs, or maybe in Creatio IDEs. They all push the changes to remote repository, right? And no matter what, as soon as code gets to an centralized remote repository, continuous integration pipeline will run, and we will get information, we will get a build status, and we will know whether it was successful or not. And as you can see, the latest build, the latest pipeline failed. And why it failed? Because tests failed, okay? And if I run unit tests, if I open unit test log, like a job log, I will find some additional information on what happened here. So in this particular case, it says that there was a test, which is execute get empty name returns empty string. But in this case, instead of returning empty string, it returned hello without any space. So the test was failed. So we had one test passed, one test failed. So now I know that the build stages failed, and essentially I know that particular developer changes failed the build, and now I need to so it needs some attention, and the same goes for any other steps in the pipeline. So, and as soon as I get back and say, okay, yeah, I made some errors here, so I make some changes in my source code. So I rebuild the configuration again, and probably in this case, I can run this test locally, right? Because last time I just totally forgot to run my unit test locally. And in this case, I have double checked it. I ran unit test locally, and yeah, it seems it's fine. So then I can push these changes to remote repository, and hopefully in this time the build will pass successfully. So I'll push changes back. So I commit these changes back, and I'll push to remote repository, and it should fix it. And of course, I can configure my build integration server to like push some notifications. So let's say as soon as my build failed, I'll receive a message on email or on my preferred messenger app. So then I can immediately go and find these changes. So in this example, I use this example to showcase that as soon as, every time when any change appears in the repository, it's going to be integrated, and we will have automatically we will get tests. So as you can see, in this case, unit tests were successful. Unit tests were successful, and we are good. And we are good. Okay, so let us jump to a Q&A session, and let me have a look. Let me have a look if we have any questions in a chat window. And yes, I see we do have some questions from the audience. And the first question is, hi, can I use Workspace Console tool in CI/CD pipelines instead of Clio? Yeah, thank you for the question, and it's a good question, and the answer is yes. But in this case, you need to make sure that your Workspace Console, as I mentioned before, it needs to have a direct access to a database. So in this case, you want to make sure that the in your continuous integration tool, the agent on which you run your pipelines will have a direct access to a database. So basically, like a database is reachable for your continuous integration agent, and that's about it. Okay, and the next question is, so where can I find information on Workspace Console command list? Yeah, good question, and let me show you real quick. So we have, as you might be familiar, we have Creatio Academy, and Creatio Academy has extensive information on on all kinds of aspects of Creatio platform. And here we have workspace and delivery tools. We have Workspace Console utility documentation. So let's say we want to transfer changes. So if you want to transfer changes, all the documentation will be here on Creatio Academy. And let's say if I want to use Workspace Console instead of Clio. So for Clio, we used Clio compress command, Clio install command. And for Workspace Console, it's gonna be installed from repository command, okay? And yeah, there will be gonna be some particular parameters here. So here we have all kind of examples, examples on Creatio Academy. Okay, let's jump to a next question. Next question is, can I run Clio on Linux? Yes, so the answer is yes, because Clio CLI tool is built using .NET Core, so it can be deployed both on Windows and Linux environment. And the next one is how to install Clio on a build agent. So if you want to install Clio on a build agent, you might want to go to, again, to a Clio documentation, and you will find here that there is a step for installation. So you're gonna want to use .NET tool, so .NET CLI tool command. So it's actually .NET tool install Clio. So this gonna find a Clio installation from Nugget, and it will install all in particular engine of particularly when you need it, right? Okay, and the next question is, and it is gonna take the last question, okay? The last question is, what is the best way to organize Creatio development and testing environments? So, and this is a good question, and number of environments and the setup of environments is vastly depends on your, for first place, in your branching strategy, in your testing strategy, I would say. But at least we have a setup when like each developer has his like local or cloud development environment, then all changes are integrated often, let's say once a day, at least once a day, to a remote repository, and then there's changes gonna be installed on testing environment, and soon as they are ready, they're gonna be promoted to a staging environment and to a production environment. Okay, so I want to take time and thank you. So it's very nice to see you with us. It's very nice to see you with us today. I hope that you like this session, and information you received today will help you to accelerate. Stay with us. This is only the beginning, and quite a lot of interesting information are coming. Goodbye.